No, let's ask her some questions. Talk to her about your experience in Hamilton.
It's been amazing. It's been, now that has been a dream come true. It's been really surprising, constantly surprising. Even today is a surprise that's I'll cherish with me forever. You guys have any other questions?
Well, how did you get the role? Like, how was the audition process?
For me, the audition was fairly cut and dry because I knew the producers from working. I was in Rent on Broadway as well, so that was one group of producers, and the Public Theater was also a producer of the show, and I do a lot of different Shakespeare plays with them sometimes, so that was another group of producers that I knew really well. But I did not know Lin-Manuel Miranda, who wrote and stars in this show.
Yeah.
I did not know Thomas Kail, who's the director, or the music director, Alex Lacamoire. So I had to go on audition because they had heard me sing and act a lot, but they had never seen me rap. And they definitely needed to cast somebody because I have the great honor of being the one woman that raps in our show. And I don't know why they didn't just assume that I could rap, being from Detroit. But I was like, all right. So I showed up, and I just went in and performed the song that my character sings in the show a couple of times for them. You know, you do it one time, and then they'll ask you, they'll give you notes, and then you do it again. They always want to see if and how you take their notes. And they asked me to sing a couple things around the piano, and then I walked out. And shortly thereafter, I got a phone call that said, will you join us to play Angelica Schuyler? Really awesome. It is amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
How was rehearsals? Was it like very stressful, hard?
Really fun. It's this is a beautiful world to live in. It's a beautiful character to play, and I work with awesome people, like so fun. And yeah, so it's a joy to do. So it probably feels like how it feels to be in here. I mean, that's the beauty of what we do. It's playing. You know, and that doesn't mean it's not work, but we play for work. You know, our work is play, and the greater kind of release we can have with that, the more willing we are to risk in that way, the better it tends to go. You know, sometimes we don't pull it off, sometimes we do. But yeah, it was a beautiful process, a lot of fun.
So working on the show, was there anything that you took away personally that helped you grow?
Oh, yes. Oh, my goodness. Every day. Every single day. You know, and that's a very long list of answers. So, yeah, when you play a character, you have the advantage of learning, you know, you kind of bring the parts of yourselves out that play that character. So I play a really brilliant woman, and I play a woman that loves the other women in particular in this play a lot. So I really get to stand on stage for 3 hours and just kind of love up the women that I play with, which is, I think, a wonderful thing, because I don't know that we do that as often as we should as women in shows. Yeah. You know, like we just sit in there and lift each other up as opposed to feeling in any way threatened by each other, which is really beautiful. Yeah, you know, this experience, Hamilton in particular, has been just a series of mind-blowing opportunities. And so what I think is unique about this experience is just learning how to receive, like she did so beautifully just now. You know, because you can dream for things, but you don't necessarily always feel worthy of them. Yeah. And so yeah, so it's been a series of just saying, okay, yes, I showed up in Detroit and the weather is perfect. You know what I mean? Yes. I needed this 2 days to be this way, and you just have to say thank you, and that's how I feel a lot. It's a lot of meeting new people that I never thought I would meet, you know, having a Tony nomination for the first time in my life after a few decades in the theater, and just being able to say thank you. That's been a big, huge thing that I'm learning how to do. I have to walk on stage every night to screaming crowds because they love the show and they've never seen it, and I don't know what they did to get this ticket. So sometimes, you know, that feels daunting. It feels like a lot of pressure to pull off their expectation of what they think they're going to see for 3 hours. And that just takes a lot of faith to believe that, you know, however exhausted I am or however very normal I feel, something's going to happen when I walk out there that's going to make me, you know, seem superhuman to them. So there's just a lot of faith that has to grow through that experience. So those are a couple of answers to your question. Yeah.
Hi, how did you gravitate towards Broadway? Was it after Carnegie? Did you already have that in you going into Carnegie, or was that way after?
Broadway?
Yeah.
Well, you know, Broadway is just one place that theater happens. So I think the real answer is like, how did I gravitate towards theater? And that was like my first love when I was a kid. I did theater. But I have been all over the place, so it's a really good question because I do a lot of television and as well. I've done a lot of singing. I sing background for a lot of different artists. I've done a lot of plays, some Shakespeare plays, some musicals, some straight plays, a few independent films. I've been a session singer doing background work. I've done so many different things because my personal decision has always been just to show up when I feel called to be somewhere, and just, you know, have the audacity to think that, you know, somehow or another I'm going to be able to pull it off. And I've been really open to the fact that, like, maybe my plan was to do one thing, but I feel like God is calling me to do this, so I show up. That's been my experience. But I have other friends that have been very, like, focused on, I only want to be a recording artist. I only want to do this. There's other things I could do to make money with my talent, but I'm going to be really specific, and if I need money, I'll be a waitress, and I'm only going to do this. And that decision is also, I think, valid, depending on what you want to do. I've just been really open to some different experiences, and then I find myself now, because of that, in a show that is on Broadway that's very successful. But yeah, I think having been around for a long time, I have a lot of other friends who are very talented, and, like, you know, one of my best friends is a background singer for Taylor Swift. And she does theater too, but that's where she's been all over the world all the time. She has just as many Twitter followers as I do. Do you know what I mean? And she's having the time of her life. You know, I have another really good friend whose band is called Vintage Trouble. We went to Carnegie Mellon together as well. He's one of the most talented people I've ever known, and he's got a band that's opening for the Dixie Chicks all over the world. So his choice was different. And somehow or another, we all get to do what we do. It's just, you never know where life is going to take you. You know? Yeah.
Okay, from listening to the Hamilton soundtrack, I see that there are a lot of people in the cast. How does this cast compare to other casts that you've worked with?
Oh, well, one thing that's sure is that they're all great. You know, I mean, I'm sure I can tell just by standing here that you guys all feel like a family. And that's actually the reason I think why we all do this, is because we love the kind of people that are attracted to this. And we love to hang out with them, and we love to support each other, and, you know, commiserate whatever we're going through. So every cast I've ever been a part of has become a family. They're all like friends forever. They all still support me, you know. When I got my Tony nomination, there are people from that I went to high school with that are calling me and crying. And that I did shows with, and, you know, so on and so forth. So that is not unique to this group of people. But what is unique to this group of people is that our experience with Hamilton is like nothing else, just like my experience in The Color Purple was like nothing else. And so it's like any family, like no one will know her as well as you guys do. Do you know what I mean? So that bonds you in a unique way, and I feel that way about my Hamilton family. We've been to the White House together. Do you know what I mean? We, you know, we've had some really just trying and challenging weeks where we're exhausted, and somehow or another it still worked out. And we've had some really mind-blowing things happen that we never dreamed would happen, and so that will always bond us. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Kyla. I wanted to know, how has your training at Carnegie helped you with your career?
Well, I think I do have friends that didn't go to Carnegie Mellon, and they all turned out okay. They all did really well also. And I actually have some friends who didn't go to college that did really well as well. I love Carnegie Mellon. It was not even my first choice. I didn't know about it. I didn't know anything about Carnegie Mellon. That's my mother harassing me from behind, you know, because I really thought I wanted to go to LA or New York right away. I felt like I'd spent my life, like I went to Cranbrook Kingswood for high school, and I loved theater, and I just thought I needed to be in LA or New York right away. And I auditioned for schools around the country, and my audition at Carnegie Mellon is why I went there, because I was so, I realized how much I didn't know when I went to that audition. The people that I was so intimidated, and I really seriously thought that I'd been lied to my entire life when I went to that audition, because I just thought, oh my God, that's what talent is, and that's not what I have, and I really need to go to law school. And then I got in. Actually, I got waitlisted, and then I got off the wait list, and I got in. And but I was right, because even at your age, I just knew that if I'm going to at some point be surrounded by people that intimidate me because of their work ethic and because of how talented they are, I just might as well get in that room as soon as possible and figure out what I'm going to do. And so that's what Carnegie Mellon was. And you know, on top of all that, there was a lot of support. So I found out who I was in it. They were really beautiful about, you know, knowing that I'm different, but I'm me. What does that mean for this? Any of you? Like, the most important thing you want to ask, you have to find out, is what they're going to do when you get out of school. That's what you need to know. How do you help me get an agent? How do you help me get a manager? How do you help me get to wherever I need to be? Because that's 4 years that you're not going to be thinking about that because you're going to be training. But somebody that doesn't go to school is going to spend 4 years trying to figure that out. So if they can launch you into that, like Carnegie Mellon can, then you need to go to that school. And there's a lot of schools that do that. NYU does that. Juilliard does that. I mean, there's a lot of schools around the country that will help shut you up with showcases and stuff and help get you, you know, acclimated and give you access to the, you know, alumni that went to that school. That's what you need to know. You know, when you're auditioning, like when they're auditioning you, you need to be like, well, how are you going to help me if you let me in and I graduate? What are we doing then? So that's really important.